today I have my ND filter on, and that could mean one of two things. It could mean I'm taking long exposures, or it could mean I'm taking long exposures. But the kind of long exposure I'm taking is the kind of long exposure that involves me moving the camera rather than attaching it to the tripod here. Currently the tripod really is just there for you on that camera. And today I want to explore a few things. It's rare that I come out on a bright day and try to do ICM. It's just more challenging. Too many highlights sometimes. You've got to be careful where you shoot, as you've got to be in many forms of or genres of photography. Of course, shooting straight into the sun for ICM might not be a great idea, particularly when it's high in the sky in the middle of the day. What I don't often shoot is people. It's very rare I shoot people. That's just me. But I thought, well, why not? We'll give it a go. We'll come to a town. We've had to come out during the day because that's when people are around. And I thought, well, heck, let's just give it a go. I have done it before. I mean, obviously I've done it before. I'm not an ICM virgin, as these videos up here will prove. But I don't often come to the beach when it's got lots of people. I mean, it's not, it's winter. It's not packed. But there's people here, which is good. And they've got dogs, which is good. And I want to explore really the kind of movement of the camera that works best in different situations with ICM, the kind of subjects that you're shooting. Yeah, do you want to move it left to right? Do you want to move it up and down? Do you want to just shake it a little? Or do you want to do a big Andy Gray kind of sweeping movement? And I think there's lots of different possibilities, but we'll explore just which ones kind of work best with the subjects that we have here. So we've got a few dog walkers around, just passed by a couple over here. Let's see what we can do with these, because they're relatively close and this could work quite well as an image. But we've got to be really kind of careful with things like this. We can't have big sweeping movements because they're not large. Well, we can have big sweeping movements, but they're not large in the frame. And you see, I'm just got a little flick or a little wobble. That works really well for human figures, particularly when you're trying to isolate them on a canvas of just what's effectively going to be pretty much shapeless colour. I've only got the 12 to 40 lens on here and they're a little bit too far away now, so I'll turn my attention somewhere else and see whether I can find any other subjects here. There's a few over there. Now, in this direction we have a group of 3 people with a dog, but a great deal of complicated background. Now that kind of worked. Now I wasn't paying proper attention to the shutter speed here. I got 1.3 of a second. And you'll see that my movement on that was kind of up, down, and then stop, and then the shutter closed. And what that gives us is the ability to kind of hold the image as long as possible in that stable motion. So you get an element of it that is kind of semi-frozen. So you can see where the movement changes direction here, here, and here. And it's worth looking at an image like this just to kind of correlate the movement of the camera with the kind of result that you're going to get. Heck, that's not too bad either. But I've made the cardinal sin of an error here. Is I've left the camera in aperture priority, which is where I would normally put the camera for landscape. And in one of my other videos I said put it into shutter priority, which is what I've now done. Whether or not that's an issue here, I'm not going to be too drawn on, because having the camera choose the shutter speed here, I don't think it's terribly horrendous, because yeah, I'm dealing with kind of an 1/18 of a second. I've got the ISO down at 200, which is the base for the camera. I have shot some as low down as 100, which is an extended ISO, and even down to 64, again an extended ISO. Ordinarily, I wouldn't say that you'd want to use an extended ISO for lots of different styles of photography. But here, where we're creating digital art, if you like, it's not really that important. Yeah, you're going to edit this, so what does it really matter? All of the detail in the shot has gone to a blur. So extending your ISO, I don't think really is an issue here. And let's face it, it's bright as you like. So yeah, I've got to, unless I put a bigger or denser ND filter on. And I do have a denser ND filter. I've got a 6-stop. This is a 3. But if I go to the 6-stop, it's a square one with a Lee holder, and the Lee holders, the original Lee holders, aren't terribly, how should we put it? Aren't terribly secure. If they want to fall off, you know, like if there's say a Y in the day, they'll fall off. When you're doing that with the camera, the opportunity for it falling off is quite large, and I don't want, you know, what is effectively nearly £100 worth of filter ending up in the sand down there, yeah, possibly broken, almost certainly scratched. That would be a bad thing. We'll stick with this and we'll just crank the ISO down as low as it will go if we need to. Oh, and of course, I've got the aperture as high as it will go because I need to. Again, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you ordinarily might worry about diffraction. Who cares? It's not sharp anyway. Well, I can assure you this is Chroma, despite it looking rather like it could be somewhere like St Mon-Michel or St Michael's Mount in Cornwall. It's edited in a style very much inspired by Andy Gray, who is a very well respected ICM photographer and artist. You can check out his YouTube channel in the links below. In the meantime, I'd be very interested in your opinion of this. If you're enjoying the video and you'd like to see more, please do subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. So I've come a little closer to the pier, and there's some more people with dogs here. And now I've got a kind of conflicting concern. Do I do a little shake for the people, or do I do a linear movement for the pier? Perhaps I try both. I've also, of course, got a bit of movement in the dogs. So we're creating movement, we're shooting movement as well. I don't think that's majorly important here, but if we've got a slower shutter speed, it might be. No. And it's awful sometimes when people think that they're in your shot and say sorry when actually they are your shot. And then you debate whether or not to say to them, no, don't worry, yeah, I'd like you there. And then you think, oh God, do they think I'm some kind of weirdo? I should also point out that this filter is it's a variable ND, so I've got control of the ND there, but it's also a polarizer. And because I've got the sun at 90 degrees to me, it's darkening the sky down quite nicely as well, which is giving me quite a lot of interest, but it's pulling the really light fluffy clouds out of the sky by making the background blue, which when I'm creating these movements is giving me quite a bit of interest in what would otherwise just be a sea of blue as well. A bit like that. So turning our attention again to the movement of things. If I'm trying to shoot the sea here, one of the movements I would almost certainly always do is just a linear kind of roll movement, which gives me the opportunity of just capturing relatively straight lines there. Now, if I start over here, I've got, let's just adjust that polarizer. I've got quite an interesting sky. I'm just going to, I have to push this down to 100 again. Right, and we're just going to do a linear movement there. And that's not a bad shot, actually. I'm running at a third of a second. Oops. Of course, these things require you to focus before you go anywhere. Let's get a focus point and whoosh. And it creates quite a nice image. If, however, I'm to kind of go up and down, I'm going to start lower and tilt down to go up. It creates a very abstract image, which really isn't the kind of shot that I'm after. The point being that really you want to kind of follow the flow of lines in your shot. You know, if you've got something that's predominantly upright, you probably want to do a predominantly upright kind of movement. Or with people, you can get away with you can get away with a little rattle and shake of the camera. And can we do that here and get anything? Oh, it's not bad. These subtle little movements are quite interesting and should never be underestimated in terms of what you can achieve with them. If you're doing a kind of big movement, I'm kind of twisting my torso with this rather than anything else. So I'm just doing kind of torso twist. Heck, I've never really thought about this as an exercise class as well. There you go, 2 for 1. As I came closer to the pier, this family of 3 came in the opposite direction to me, and they were quite interesting because they've really got some character in them with the colours that they're wearing. So we've got this nice red jacket, we've got the dark blue navy of the lady and the child's in the yellow. The lady has a very nice flowy skirt on as well, which of course is being picked up by the breeze. It's not a strong breeze, but it's enough to get the voile of her skirt moving as well. And it's all that little bit of movement in addition to the camera shake that really kind of helps and create quite a nice image here. And I'll wait until they're all kind of separated, and oh heck, they're now kind of mingling a little bit, visually that is, with those in the background, and they're getting a bit farther away from me. I don't want to follow them because that really will look very strange. And I don't want to change lens either. With filters and the like on the front, that just makes things more of a faff also. So I'll stick with the 12 to 40 on this and just zoom through that, and zoom more with my feet if I need to get closer, without looking weird. Weirder, my mistake, weirder. Maybe I'll go under the pier. So, having come under the pier now, what we have is a structure of lines. So we need to follow those lines as much as anything. But we've got lines that go that way, that way, that way, and that way. So which way do we go? Let's try. I've already done a test shot, and I started off up here and I came down, and hell, it's a wonderfully ethereal type shot. I love this. I've pulled my variable ND down to its brightest because yeah, it's dark under here, so let's just kind of work where we are with this. That's a F10 up here, and a third of a second. No, too fast, way too fast. Maybe not so high either. Now, this is where you've got to keep as kind of steady as possible. If you've got any, if you're doing that, you must make sure that that's absolutely square, otherwise you're going to end up with a wavy line, which doesn't look right. I know it's ICM, I know we're supposed to have intentional movement in it, but we've still got to be intentional with our intentional movement, if you see what I mean. So this is one of those times where a ball head on a tripod doesn't work very well like this, but a tilt pan head would work brilliantly if you have one to hand. Also, because I'm kind of shooting into the light, oh, that worked. And a lot of the light's hitting up in these corners. You can see up here, this is dark and that's light, so I'm not picking that up so much as that, which is providing an image that's not quite right. So if I just pull the exposure down, then I might get more of that. That's better. I'll be honest that when I was doing this, I had no idea I looked like one of those drinking bird things from the vintage era. Really nice kind of very graphic sculptural image. In actual fact, I mean, I've got to say, I just like this up here, because I'm looking straight up and there's people walking over, because I'm getting the streaks of their clothes as well up there. That's quite interesting. You see, the thing with ICM is just the mad amount of scope you've got to create images where otherwise you might not have attempted it, or you might have just got an image that's I do like this image as a still, if you like, but I think it's something that's moving. It's even more interesting.
So this image is quite a departure from the others, which are perhaps a little bit more ethereal, a bit more kind of direct and in your face. This one may not be to everybody's taste, but I quite like it. Let me know what you think of it.
So I haven't tried an image that kind of goes from left to right, or kind of just swivels. Let's try a swivel. Oh, didn't need to be quicker than that. Nope. Start closer in. Get yourself to a side and and this kind of matters where you start your movement as well. I'm going to start moving before I open the shutter here, in the hope that I get that bang in the centre, because I can't. I pretty much got it there. I'm not quite sure how. I thought it was going to be a mistake coming up here once I got here, because one, there's an awful lot of people, and two, I'm just looking straight into the sun. I didn't think I'd be able to get the shutter speed slow enough, but I can, and I'm getting some interesting images as well out of it. Obviously I can't see the lens or the camera if I keep the glasses on. Obviously I have to keep the ND filter as dark as I can. I'm down to 100 ISO. I'm just doing up down shakes. I'm doing little wobbles. The wobbles seem to work quite nicely because it's people, quite dynamic.
If you've got this far into the video, you're probably enjoying it. Please click the like button, click the subscribe button. It makes the world of difference to the channel.
I'm looking down the length of the boards, and actually that one works quite well as well. If I simply look down and wait for people, I like these are working very nicely. If I'm waiting for people to come and walk towards me, so as I get their shadows, and then the boards are very, very monochrome, and they've got really big hotspot for the light as well. Just really waiting for people to kind of walk into frame, and then up. Now people are avoiding walking towards me because the area behind me is closed, so maybe I should come over here instead, where I can capture people from different angles, so to speak. Normally you can walk around the pavilion, but they're doing quite a lot of work on it, so people are walking up behind me and then coming back. But even if we're not looking directly at people and shadows, people are avoiding walking directly towards me, which is a real kind of shame. But it's not so much as bad as they walk away. I can kind of step into their shadows, if you like, and get them. Now, because I'm working a lot with kind of vertical images, I'm going to do a vertical portrait shot here as well, so kind of accentuate the length of the movement. There we go, so we'll get these people here. That works well. And the movement is always in line with the boards of the pier here, because we're accentuating that leading line, or all of those leading lines.
So I've got a few shots up on the boardwalk, but you may have already spotted that some of these have got some horrendous dust spots on them, and I hadn't noticed it at the time when I was shooting. So a lot of my work wasn't as good as it should have been. I spent a lot of time cleaning this up. Now you can't go to Chroma without going to Mary Jane's Fish and Chip Shop. So that's where I went, and on the way I got this shot of Jetty Street, which is a wonderful, wonderful little close, small, narrow street leading right the way down to the cliff top. And having finished my fish and chips, I went back down to the beach and found this fishing boat coming back from its day's work. Don't forget to click the like button, subscribe and tickle that bell as well. Makes all the difference. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.